Divide and conquer. On to the divisional round, and oh, these are some matchups.
Yes, sir.
We've waited long enough, Lamar. We need you back on a football field. Going up at 4:30 Eastern on Saturday, the young rookie, dazzling in his postseason debut. C.J. Stroud taken to the road, going to the bank to take on Lamar and the 1 seed. Packers and Niners, that's 1 versus 7, and the biggest number on the board. Niners laying a hefty 9.5. Bucs Lions. Sunday action coming your way with the Lions 5.5-point favorites, sort of that tweener number you're looking at, total at 48.5. Your lowest total going to be the 45 attached to the main event. Mahomes, Allen, Chiefs, Bills, CBS. Bryant McFadden here to begin the conversation, one that will continue throughout the entirety of the week, so you are privy to move off of your numbers as the numbers move. But let's dive right in, and I want to split this thing in the middle and do conferences. Starting in the NFC, let's talk Packers, Niners. Biggest number on the board at the 9.5. Totals 50.5. Saturday slot. All pros all over the field on one side, confidence on the other. Is it enough confidence to have you scoop up those points with the Pack?
No question. Number one, let's look at the total. 50 and a hook, the odd makers out in Vegas, they're telling us that they believe it's going to be scoring in this ball game from either side. I also agree with that as well. But I'm looking at the Packers getting 9.5. You know, if you can buy it up to a full 10, maybe 11, I think you should do so. But I'm really liking what I'm seeing from Jordan Love. I mean, this is a guy he's really taken the league by storm, especially in the month of December, and that carried on into the first round against the Dallas Cowboys. Granted, the defensive unit he's facing off against this week is much different than the Dallas Cowboys.
You could say it again.
But we've seen throughout moments in the season where opposing quarterbacks, they've had success against the San Francisco 49ers, most recently Lamar Jackson, right? So I think Jordan Love will have an opportunity to make some plays, and you just need the Green Bay Packers to make this thing a little interesting. You know what I mean? When you talk about taking the points. So 9.5, I got to take 9.5 right now. I don't know if we will have any line movement between now and game time, but based on what Jordan Love has done, like I said, he rolled into the first round super hot. That continues. And one thing I know about playoff football, Joe, teams that go into playoffs sprinting, not limping, they have success. And Jordan Love is showcasing his skill set to be able to tear up opposing defenses. He's playing with a lot of confidence, and his guys around him, they believe in him. So give me the give me the Green Bay Packers getting 9.5.
Well rested are those 49ers. We'll see what they look like with unfinished business also attached to that name. You know what they want to do, and you know the guys who are going to try and do it. Bucs and Lions, winner of the Packers and 49ers will sit and wait for the winner of the Bucs and the Lions. Two teams that at the beginning of the season had different outlooks and expectations. This is where we expected Detroit to be in some ways. Maybe
for sure
not to this height, but it was a divisional title. They checked that box. They also take care of the wild card round, and now they welcome a team that I think they'd sign up for if you were telling them pick your opponent of the NFC playoff teams. They got a Bucs team coming to town that just walked over the Eagles, and I don't know how much we assign to the Bucs or the Eagles. It was a confluence of events, but we are looking at 5.5. That's sort of one of those numbers to me that tells me Vegas and the money is going to move this number, so maybe we sit and wait. But what do you do with the 5.5?
I'm taking Detroit laying the 5.5. This is a rematch. We saw this game early in the year. I think Detroit won 20-6, if I'm not mistaken. But this is a bad matchup for Tampa Bay, and here's why. What we saw Monday night against the Eagles for Tampa Bay offensively was something that we didn't really see a lot. I'm not talking about the production from Baker Mayfield. I'm talking about the running game. They were able to run the football effectively against the Philadelphia Eagles, a total of 119 yards that provided balance for their offense. But throughout the entire season, that has been an Achilles heel for their offense, the inability to run the football. I think they're going to have issues running the football against the Detroit Lions. Number one, on the road. Number two, the front for Detroit, they do a real good job in neutralizing, effacing opposing offenses' ground and pound attack, and that would warrant the Tampa Bay Buccaneers becoming one-dimensional. You do not want to be one-dimensional with Aiden Hutchinson trying to put pressure on your opposing quarterback. And then when you factor in the offensive nature for Detroit, they're the total opposite, in my opinion, when you talk about Tampa. They have balance. They can run the football. Thunder, lightning. David Montgomery, in comes Jahmyr Gibbs. The way these guys coexist in the backfield has provided a sense of a running style that's been really difficult for defenders to kind of understand and predict, and not to mention the job that Jared Goff has done as well as the quarterback for their offense. I think they're going to score points. I think they're going to get the necessary stops to be able to cover this 5.5 as we currently see it right now.
San Francisco, Detroit, Baltimore, and Buffalo, all great home field advantages, especially when you get to this point in the season. But those fans in Detroit, as the players and the head coach said a night ago,
you think
place was humming.
Eminem makes a return?
He might lose himself again. He might have to lose himself a couple more times. We're not looking to lose anything as it pertains to these numbers, Mac. Let's get to the AFC. Texans, Ravens, 8.5. Massive number right now. 46 is your total. This, to me, is the framing game. It's all what we want to put our focus around. And we could frame it this way. C.J. Stroud, Lamar Jackson have the same number of playoff wins in their careers. Lamar is 1-3 in his playoff career, 0-2 straight up and against the number at home. We know what happened in 2019. Tennessee comes to town, you lay an egg, you put up 12 points. The season, that is, ends like that. I'm not saying that that's what happens here, but you have a live dog getting 8.5 points in Houston. I have a hard time looking away from that number.
Yeah, this is a rematch also. Week 1, Baltimore took care of their business. That was C.J. Stroud's first start. The C.J. Stroud they played against week 1 is not the same guy they're going to face off against this weekend. Give me the Houston Texans getting the points, 8.5. I think that's a large line. That's a large spread. I'll take the points because I do believe C.J. Stroud, he's shown the ability to score points regardless of the defense he's facing, regardless of where he's playing against that said defense. Yes, a very, very difficult environment in Baltimore, but I like C.J. Stroud. I like his connection with his receivers, not to mention Devin Singletary has been showing the sense to provide running for their offense as well. So give me 8.5. I'm taking the spread with Houston.
I'm right there with you, and I'm sprinkling. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm sprinkling. It's a live dog. Chiefs, Bills, CBS, our final game of divisional weekend. Tony Romo, Jim Nantz, Tracy Wolfson on the call. Can't miss action coming your way, this time from Orchard Park. Bills laying 2.5, largely because of the fact that we are going to Orchard Park. Total 46.5, Mac. This is the 7th ever meeting between Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, the 3rd ever postseason meeting. Both of those postseason meetings do belong to good time Patty Mahomes, both of them coming at Arrowhead. How do you stack up all of the intangibles in this one?
Let's go, Buffalo. Let's go, Buffalo. I'm taking the Bills.
Okay.
I'm taking the Bills. I might, if this was an Arrowhead, I might go the opposite direction. But that home field advantage for these two teams, it means something. And it's safe to say if you had to compare either offense, quarterbacks, Josh Allen and his offense, they've been hot. They've been hotter than Kansas City. And, you know, defensively, I think the nod will go to Kansas City. I think their defense is better than Buffalo, but there's something about Buffalo and their defense. They're not stout, they're not dominant, but they're opportunistic. They play timely football. They get timely stops. So you talk about laying 2.5, 3 points, regardless, give me Buffalo.
I think I lean there with you, but in each of these wins that Buffalo's rattled off at the end of the season, it's been about a 10-minute lull in action where it's 3 and out, maybe you give up some points, 3 and out. You can't have those lulls against Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. I don't care what version of them.
Also, too, this is a rematch as well. Remember, this was part of that stretch that Buffalo was in the midst of when they needed to win every ball game. They went to Arrowhead and took care of business against Kansas City. And in that game, James Cook had a huge game. Remember, catching the football in the backfield. So this is a team in Buffalo. They have so much confidence. They're not afraid of Kansas City. In years past, when they had to go to Arrowhead in playoff, in playoff moments, it felt like they were a little lacking confidence a little bit. This is a team that believes.
It is the great quarterback matchup of our time, and it's coming your way this weekend on CBS. Mac, thank you.
Sir.
Another look at those plays from the Mac man. Early leans, odds subject to change, and they already have. Buffalo now laying 3. Mac's play, it's a whale play. It moved the line. What can we say?
Take it.
Buffalo laying the 3. He's on that. Texans catching 8.5. We're both on that. I'm sprinkling as well. Tampa Bay, Detroit, 5.5. An interesting number. Lions, we're going to lay those points at home. Crowd's going to be rocking. M's going to be there. We know it. San Francisco, 1 versus 7, laying a massive number, the biggest on the weekend, 9.5. Mac is also sharp, scooping those points. All right, let's get you back out where the Bucs take care of the Eagles. We got more post-game sound coming next.
2 at your own 44. You punted there.
At the beginning of the game?
Yeah. Well, what you're thinking there.
Yeah, I'm not going to give him a short field. It was actually 4th and 3 on the stat sheet, and so I'm not going to give him a short field there in that scenario on the first drive. I always think about that on the first drive. Not going to get into all, my decision making on 4th down as far as what I think and when I think it. But that's one I'm right there. I'm not considering going for it at that particular time. We didn't get it. We punted. I didn't want to give them a short field after just one possession that they've had. So that's a little bit of the reasoning behind it.
From the beginning of the game, halftime, about 4 carries. What was the flow of the offense in the first half?
Yeah, we were just a little out of sync, obviously. We had the big play to Devontae. Besides that, we were just a little bit out of flow. That's always going to start with me. Wasn't good enough. Obviously, we're not putting them in good enough positions. And so, sometimes when you're in 2nd and long and 3rd and long, you're not continuing drives, it's easy to look at the stat sheet and say, they didn't run it enough. But, there's things that aren't being accounted for. You're in 2nd and long. You're in 3rd and long. There's nothing to say that you can't run it there, but it's going to be harder to pick up a first down in those scenarios. So whenever you're out of flow like that and not in sync like we were, it's going to be hard to get your carries when you're behind the sticks. And we had a 2-minute drive there as well. So, hey, listen, we need to be able to run it more. Obviously, we weren't able to today to get into a flow, and that's on me. Obviously, we were in a big slide, and anytime that's the case, I always look at myself first, and I didn't do a good enough job, and obviously we lost 5 of the last 6 and lost today, and it's almost like you couldn't get out of the rut we couldn't get out the rut we're in, and that's all of us. We'll all have to look ourselves in the mirror and accept that, and just find answers, find solutions. But obviously, when you start 10-1. And then you get into what happened for us. Obviously, that the expectations were high. Expectations were even higher when we started off 10-1, and we fell into a skid. So I'll look at everything. I'll look at, obviously the play calling. I'll look at the, the scheme. I'll look at, practices. I'll look at everything that we're doing, because, I think that the past 2 years, did some things. We got hot a little bit at the end, and then this year wasn't that case. So anytime that's the case, you're going to look for answers in those scenarios, because it's not always the answer isn't always like, okay, we finished hot last year, lost our last game, do the same thing. You got to be able to adjust. We did some adjusting to things, but we'll look at everything.
You're looking at everything. Does that include potentially changing coordinator?
Yeah, I mean that's a little premature to talk through that. Everybody in that locker room's hurting right now. Coaches, players, staff, everybody in that locker room's hurting, and my job right now is to be there for them, be there for the guys. We'll get into all that. I'm not there yet, but yeah, we're hurting right now. It's tough to go out the way we did. This hats off to the Bucs. They had a good game plan. They did a good job, but my mind right now is not there. I got a lot of time to think about that. My mind right now is on the locker room, the guys, the coaches, all those things.
I'm sorry to be blunt, Nick, but are you concerned at all about your job?
Like I just said over here, I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking about the guys. Again, there's a lot of guys in that locker room, all the guys in that locker room, every single one of them that put their heart and soul into this. I'm not worried about me. I'm not worried. I'm as the head coach, I'm just trying to be there for our guys and our staff right now, through a tough time. Obviously we didn't finish anywhere near we wanted to finish, and so again, my heart feels for these guys. We're all taking it hard, and that's where my mind is right now. Obviously it was almost a similar play, the safety that we got on them with momentum, and so anytime a safety like that happens, it's a big momentum change, right? They were up 16-9. I thought our defense was doing a good job, at the beginning of the end of the first half, beginning of the second half. It kind of swung the momentum, there. They made a good play, and we didn't. Not necessarily. I'll have to look at the tape of exactly what happened on that. He's trying to make a play. He does so many good things of making plays, and when he extends plays when something's not there, and you can't get really excited and when he makes changing plays, and then crush him when something like that happens. And so he's made a lot more plays than he hasn't there in that particular case. We got to put him in a better position to make a play, to start things off. And then, hey, like I said, he's made a ton of plays that way. He's tried to make a play in that situation. Didn't work this time.
How do you think Jalen and the offense handled the blitz? An issue throughout the game.
I'll get you, Elliot.
Through the weeks, and you mentioned early in the season, you guys were near the top of the league. When that sort of turns in a drastic direction, how do you look at that as a coach?
Sure. Again, yeah, you just got to look at how you're going about your business. Tackling is a tricky thing. Not a lot of teams are going to tackle live. All right, I don't think any teams are going to tackle live, to be quite honest with you, especially late in the season. And so you got to look at how you're drilling it. You got to look how you're, the different technologies that have to help you drill it, because obviously, throughout the body of work of the season, it was good, but it wasn't as good in the last couple weeks. I think that you can kind of look at everything. If you look at the body of work and a lot of different things this season, the numbers may say one thing, but it wasn't good enough in the past month of the season, right? And so, again, that's going to go back to how we practice, all those different things. I know we had a lot of guys healthy, and we only had 2 starters not here for this game. So part of you wants to say to yourself, well, all hands were on deck for the most part. Obviously, Nakobe and Sydney, AJ would have been able to be back, I'm assuming. But 2 guys out that were season-ending injuries. You want all hands on deck, but you also got to make sure that you're doing the right things with practice. So we'll look at all that. Again, I'm not there yet with that. How do
you think Jalen and the offense handled the blitz tonight?
Hey, we scored 9 points. So how do I think the better way to say that is, how do you think the coaching staff and the players handled the blitz tonight? Because it's not just on one person. We didn't do a good enough job. Starts with me, being able to put them in the right positions to help them make plays. Tried some different things. Hats off to them. They had a good game plan. We didn't coach or play well enough tonight.
Couple more. Kelsey was emotional coming off the field. Your thoughts on him, particularly if this was the end?
Yeah, I love him. I don't. Obviously, we're not there at that position yet, or ready to talk about that, or but he's special, and I love him. He's one of the most special guys I've been around. So, obviously, he's always got a place and here, and always want him to play. We'll see what happens as time progresses here.
Nick, given the way the last second half of the season went, I guess what gives you the confidence that you can fix some of the problems that persisted?
Yeah, we believe in ourselves. I'm not sitting in this room, for any reason, and it's the same thing with these guys. I'm really not. I'm not built that way. What gives me the confidence to think that we can fix it? Because we believe in ourselves, and we're in these seats at the at the top of our profession because we worked our ass off to get here. And I can promise you this, that nobody in that locker room thinks that way even a little bit. Anyone does think that way, and doubts themselves, but sure as hell ain't us.
2 more. We're done. What do your next few days look like in terms of meeting with Jeffrey? And I know you said that your focus is on the players right now. go get that?
Yeah, I'm not. Again, like I said, I'm not there yet. I don't know exactly quite yet. Wasn't expecting it to end tonight. It did, and I'll put together a schedule here on the plane while at home and then tomorrow.
Was there anything specific the Bucs did on offense that really kind of let them move the ball at will on you guys?
Yeah, they ran it well. I thought Baker did some good things, with some pressure things. That he made that really good play against Blitz Zero. Down the middle was at the Godwin, I think. They got some really good players, and I thought they ran the football well, and hats off to them.
Last one. You mentioned the belief.
Go ahead. I got him.
Nick, when you talked about not being able to get out of the run late in the season, do you look back at some of the decisions and wonder why they didn't work?
Yeah, again, like I said, anytime, I'm not going to – anytime we make a decision that doesn't work, I'm going to drag myself through the mud and attempts to get better from it. We don't brush things by. We just try to look for solutions, and obviously our solutions weren't good enough near the end. But we'll go back to the drawing board as we continue on.
All right. Thanks, folks.
I'm sure there'll be plenty of dragging Nick Sirianni through the mud in the days to come. But how about a moment here for the head coach on the other sideline, Todd Bowles?
Yeah.
Won a Super Bowl as a player, 1987 with Washington. Won a Super Bowl as a scout, 96 with Green Bay. Won a Super Bowl as a defensive coordinator, 2020 with Tampa Bay, and just earned his first career playoff win as a head coach. And it comes against this Eagles team, an all-time collapse, one of the worst in NFL history. Back in studio alongside Bryant McFadden, Joe Musso, your host. Mac, a lot of the things that we were saying was a lot of what Nick Sirianni was just saying. Tackling, game plan, execution. Things just really got out of hand over this last 2 months of the season for the Philadelphia Eagles. We know for the players, they're going to get away from it. They're going to get the bodies right. But for front office, for head coach, I mean, the process of next season starts now. If he is a part of it, how do you keep this season from lingering? They did such a good job in the early stages of this year, not letting a Super Bowl loss linger, but this is something different. How do you move forward off of it?
Well, you got to find, schematically speaking, you got to find things that fit your guys, especially on the defensive side. I think that was the more disappointing phase with their team. Defense, right? Tackling was an issue. Allowing opposing offenses, scoring points was an issue. Of course, everyone deals with injuries, but they just didn't have depth, the proper depth, I think, to be able to fulfill the requirement, which was winning ball games, competing to be in positions to win ball games. So, you look at what they went through throughout the year. Sean Desai started off as the play caller. Then they removed that title. He went up to the Bucs. They brought down Matt Patricia as the play caller. He just never could, either guy could never find a rhythm that fit the personnel on the defensive side. So I think that is the first thing Nick Sirianni needs to do moving forward. Finding a proper fit, coach-wise, coordinator-wise, defensively. Then when you look at offense-wise, just going back to what made a lot of sense for them a year ago, running the football, right? They were one of the best rushing teams a year ago. They kind of got away from that, even in tonight's matchup. They were never really down big early in this ball game, but they just kind of, just took the running game away from their arsenal as a play caller, as an offense, and that made them one-dimensional. Jalen Hurts is still a high-level quarterback, in my opinion. A.J. Brown is a wide receiver 1. Heck, Devontae Smith is a wide receiver 1 as well. Dallas Goedert is a talented tight end. Lane Johnson already came out and said he would like to play a few more seasons. We don't know exactly the situation with Jason Kelsey, but maybe he would like to return as well. But if you can kind of keep some of those key guys back, Brandon Grimm said he would like to play at least one more year. That would be huge for the defense as well when you talk about his leadership and his experience. But this isn't a team that's like, it's time to go into rebuild.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, Joe. I think they just got to figure out, it's more about the scheme. Because basically the same players that got them to Arizona last year, they're there.
A.J. Brown, the unspoken one in this instance. We'll see what happens with him. Still 1 year before there is an out on that contract. Due $19 million next year. We'll see if he refollows some of his teammates. But you said at the run game, 42 yards here in the loss to the Buccaneers. That's tied for a playoff franchise record low by the Eagles. We will see if Nick Sirianni is the one tasked with getting this team back up off the mat. All right, here's a look at the Eagles season, just a capsule of the failure down the stretch. 1-6 over their last 7, just 18 points per game. That's 10, nearly 10 full points off of their output in the first 11. And you said it, Mac, the defense, giving up 30 points per game. Seasons are going to end if numbers look like that. Plenty more coming on CBS Sports HQ as the Birds get baked in the wild card round. Full reaction next on CBS Sports HQ.